Welcome to this exclusive web interview with family law lawyer Lorne MacLean. Lorne, thanks for joining us.
Pleased to be here, Your Honor.
You know, one of the saddest things I hear from unhappily married people is, oh, I wish I could break up and start fresh, but I can't afford to break up.
Well, I will often see that if a high-income earner comes in and I show him the calculation of what spousal support and child support might be, and that person says, well, I can't afford to leave. I'm going to have to pay so much support. I explain to them, you're already paying that much support right now.
What do you mean?
Well, you're already paying all of the expenses. You're probably putting out no more than the spousal and child support that you'll be asked to pay after separation. And the question will be, what about the assets that you're going to acquire moving forward if you stay in an unhappy marriage? Those will be shared too, as opposed to perhaps being yours alone. So
it's a big price to pay, isn't it? To stay with somebody that you're not in love with, be unhappy because it's cheaper. Even if it were cheaper.
It's a bit of a Hobson's choice, and it's like being on the top of a 3-meter diving board and looking down and being afraid to jump. Once you've made that step, sometimes you find out it's not that bad and there's a relief, and sometimes your children have actually sort of come to that same conclusion as well, that mom and dad might be happier if they weren't together and were okay with it.
I want to ask you about family law lawyers in general. I think it's well understood from most people that you should see a lawyer if you're going to break up. It's very important to get legal advice. We hammer that home all the time. But the reputation that the family law bar has is not good. Most people don't seem to be satisfied with the legal services they get. They don't like the advice they get. They think it's too expensive. I hear it all the time. It's one of the reasons we're jammed in the courts with people with no lawyers. What can you say to our viewers to help them understand why lawyers do what they do?
Well, first of all, the people that come to see us are already unhappy or angry. And I bet if you see those self-represented parties in court, they're no happier than the clients that are represented by lawyers. So fundamentally, we know people are going to be unhappy when they come in. It's unpleasant to go through a marriage breakdown. But if you're going to go through a marriage breakdown, you don't want to add stress by making a bad agreement right off the bat because you frankly don't have a clue what's fair because you didn't want to go to a lawyer. After you pay a lawyer, the goal should be to have more after you've paid legal fees than you can get from your spouse without using a lawyer. But how will you know what that figure is if you don't get the legal advice right up front? And that's where people make too many mistakes. They want to be a hero because they feel guilty. They want to be a martyr. And then 2 or 3 years down the road, they can't make ends meet. What are they going to do?
Well, some people tell me that they feel their lawyer inflamed the situation. They made it worse. I hear that all the time. Why are some lawyers so aggressive, at least appear to be aggressive, in their style, in their litigation style?
Okay, it's really a zero-sum proposition for a lawyer to be overly aggressive, because what I tell my clients at the beginning is, we're going to try to negotiate a settlement. You have some grievances with your spouse, but it's not a good bargaining position to attack your spouse and expect that they're going to be in the mood to try to settle with you. So we'll use conciliation first.
Right.
If that doesn't work, and only as a last resort will we go to court, only when we think we have a very good chance of matching or beating the offer, because it costs money to go to court.
And if you do go to court, do you have a different style if you're arguing over custody of children as opposed to money or property? Okay,
so I don't like the approach of the self-represented litigant, which is to attack the other spouse or to blame the other spouse. I like to try to package my argument as, here is a positive solution where the child wins, I win, but most importantly, my spouse wins, because you have a far greater chance of persuading the judge to accept that kind of argument than hammer my spouse, you know, I have my rights, it's all about me. That's not going to work.
And I don't think people realize, at least many people, that we're not interested in dissecting the relationship or understanding why it broke up or who was to blame. We really just want to figure out what's a fair way to resolve whatever the issue is. What's fair, what's right for the children, what's fair in law.
We have to move on, because if people get trapped in bitterness and recriminations, they're never going to move on successfully. And that child's never going to be free from the conflict, and the greatest predictor of poor outcomes for children is ongoing conflict between the parents. End it as soon as you can, move on, everyone will be happier.
So when your lawyer gets tough, cut them some slack. They know what they're doing. Thanks for being on the show, Lorne.
Thank you, Judge Brownstone.